Hey y'all, my name is Christian. I'm a millennial, and this is the Millennial Mind. Millennials get a bad rap for being lazy, non productive members of society. We also get told that our opinions are warped and don't matter. This podcast is designed to express a point of view on the world as a whole, but from a millennial's perspective. I will talk about love, current events, pretty much everything that comes to mind. Come join me on this journey on speaking my mind, and I would love for you to speak your mind as well. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, even on platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Once again, you can download the Anchor app, that's ANCHOR, or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey y'all! Welcome to another episode of The Millennial Mind. Really, the first episode of the new year, the new decade. Isn't that amazing? 2020? Wow. When I was little, I just never expected to see 2020. Not that I was thinking that, something tragic would happen, but I just couldn't imagine seeing 2020, and now it's here, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to see it. So happy new year to all of you, all of my listeners out there. I hope that you're enjoying this new year, enjoying this new start, this fresh start, and I hope that you're making goals and you're crushing them even on day 2 of this new year. And speaking of goals, that's really what I wanted to talk about today. And this episode will be kind of short. But as we all know, when it comes time for the new year, we all make resolutions and say that, okay, we're going to do these certain things for the year. We're going to make these changes because the new year gives us a fresh start. Well, for me, I don't like to say that I'm going to make a resolution. I like to say that I'm going to make a goal. And what I try to do is start before the new year, because if I want to make a goal, if I want to start creating a goal, I want to start as soon as possible as far as achieving that goal. I don't need the new year in order to do that. So I wanted to share with you guys a few of my goals, and then we can go from there. So one of my goals rather for 2020 is to be less anxious and trust God more. If you haven't listened to the previous episode, listen to that. I go into some detail as far as my struggles with anxiety and how I had a health scare, and basically I'm just struggling with letting things go and just trusting God more. If you grew up churchy like me, you would always hear people say, oh, let go and let God. And As a child, I didn't really understand it. As an adult, I still don't understand it because I'm like, okay, how do you let go and let God? How do you, physically let go of any issues that you're dealing with and let God handle it? And the best thing that I could come up with is, pray about it, bring them to the Lord and say, God, here are my issues that I'm dealing with. Here are the struggles that I'm dealing with right now. I'm just going to let you handle it and forget about it. That's the best. That's the best description or explanation that I could come up with for that phrase. And it's not easy to do that because, and I'll just speak for myself, I feel lost when I don't have control over certain things. In all honesty, there's going to be things in life that's just going to be out of your control. There's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing physically that you can do about it. Nothing mentally that you can do about it. It just is what it is. So if it's out of your control, what do you have to lose in letting God handle it? So that's what I'm trying to do because I don't want to have the same health scare that I had before. I don't want to be stressed out and my blood pressure is like sky high. It's not worth it. I don't want to be casket fresh. I'm too young for that. Even though I know there are people who are dying that's my age. But it would just be sad for me if, I go out like that. That's not the way I want to go out. So that's my main goal this year, is to trust God and just let go of any anxieties that I have. Another goal that I have is, and this is like real cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway, be more determined and steadfast in eating right and exercising. So I really started to be more serious about working out. Maybe I would say around 2018. I would say around August or September 2018. I had a trainer who he was training me, but it seemed like he had a lot of clients. So his focus wasn't solely on me. It was on me and about 5 different other people, 5 different clients that he had. So it was so I was paying for like a one-on-one class, but really it was like a semi-private class because there was like 5 or 6 other people that were being trained too. So it's a little bit frustrating. And I don't think he really kind of focused on my eating habits because, of course, the notion is that your muscles and your abs, specifically your abs, are made in the kitchen. So all the muscles that you want, the definition of your muscles, that curvy figure that you want, it depends on how you eat. Eating is probably like 75% of how you get the body that you want. So I was exercising and pretty much eating whatever I wanted. And he didn't really check up on me too much to see, if I was eating right. I think he checked on me maybe a couple of times, but I didn't really have a lot of accountability. So I decided to switch to another trainer. Her name is Regina. Shout out to Regina from BYOB Fitness. BYOB stands for Build Your Own Body. She has a fitness, a gym in Munster, Indiana. She is awesome. Her and Gabby and Lou, they really care about training you, and then they really care about your eating habits and try to get you on the path of healthy, clean eating. So it was once I started being trained by them that I really understood the power of what I was eating. I started to change my eating habits, like slowly but surely. I eliminated a lot of red meat and pork and started eating lean protein like ground turkey and chicken breasts, things like that. Eating more green leafy vegetables, more healthier starches or carbs such as like brown rice and sweet potatoes. And I started to see a change in my body. I was like, okay, so this is what they're talking about. So this makes sense. So that combined with my workouts that I was doing, it was working. And then I kind of fell off to the point where I'm at today. And then I, was looking at my body. I was like, okay, Christian, you could do a little bit better. Not a little bit. You could do a lot better. And then the signs were there. I was feeling tired and exhausted. Like I would walk up a flight of stairs and would be tired. I'm like, what is going on? Now, I'm not a big girl, but, I had gained a little bit of weight, so I became a little bit of a thickums, which, of course, my husband appreciated. But I didn't. So I wanted to be in a place where I felt good about myself. So I decided way before New Year's I was going to be more consistent with my workouts, be more steadfast with clean eating. And that doesn't mean that, 7 days a week, 365 days out the year, I'm going to always eat clean, because that's not reasonable. And that's not logical. Sometimes I may want to have a hamburger. Sometimes I may want to have ice cream, but I have to do that in moderation. And BYOB Fitness really helped me to understand or define what that moderation was. So I'm trying to be more consistent with it all. I actually just came from a workout with them not too long ago, which just kicked my butt. So I am tired and sweaty. But my goal is to be more consistent so I can build up my endurance, build my body the way I want it to be built, and just feel better about myself health-wise. And I'm more concerned about how I feel internally than how I look externally. I want, when I go in for a physical and I get my blood work done, I want that all to be normal. I want to feel good. I just want to be more consistent with it. And I know that's a lot of people's goals, but this is something that I'm really going to dedicate my time and effort to do. Another goal that I have for 2020 is to travel more. So if you listen to previous podcasts, you know that I love to travel. I literally love it. Like if I was like a millionaire and didn't have to worry about money, that's something that I will be doing on a regular, because I love it. I love experiencing different cultures, meeting new people. It's just super exciting for me. And then me being a nerd, I enjoy like the literal aspect of traveling. So like going through an airport, packing up a car and going on a road trip. Like I love everything about traveling. But of course, my coins are saying, nah, chick, you need to save money. So my goal is to save enough money in order for me to at least take 2 trips this year. At least. I try to do one at least, but my goal is to try to do 2. So if I could do one big one and do another smaller one, that would be great. I know this year I'm going on a cruise. Me and my husband were going on an 8-day cruise. So So that's, of course, going to be our big trip. But then I want to do a smaller trip. So maybe we live in the Midwest, so there's so many places that we could go in the Midwest that's close by, and it's crazy. It's really so much stuff to do in the Midwest. But if we could do like a shorter trip in the Midwest, I would be happy with that. So do a big trip and a smaller trip. That's something that I would like to do. And would you call traveling a hobby? Because I think it is. And I don't know. Some people don't qualify it as a hobby, but I do. It's my hobby. So if it's my hobby, that's something that I would like to do. I feel like if I could travel, like if traveling was my job and I didn't get paid, I'd be okay. That's how much I love it. So, coming up with a plan in order to travel more. That's another goal that I have. So that's number 3. We're going to take a quick little break so that you can hear an ad from our sponsor, and then we'll go into the next 2. Hey y'all, welcome back. Okay, I want to finish up these goals that I have for 2020. I want to get into the last 2 goals. So the 4th goal that I have for 2020 is to be closer to being debt free. Now, when I'll start here. The majority of my debt is student loans. And I think that's a reality for a lot of millennials, because, of course, our parents or our guardians or whoever was taking care of us told us, go to school. When you go to school, graduate with a degree, and then you'll get a good job afterwards. And for a lot of us, that's not what happened. Like, our salaries, for the most part, is not enough to cover what we owe in student loans. So we're struggling. We're either, not making the recommended minimum payments of our student loans, or we're deferring or going into forbearance because we're trying not to, and I would say for the deferment and the forbearance, we really don't want to face the magnitude of our student loans because it's just so much. It is too much. So that's the majority of my debt. I had a couple of credit cards, and I was just like, I just can't continue to be in debt like this. I really need to come up with a plan in order to address this debt. So when I got married, my husband, who, thank God for him, because he's really good with finances, and I trust him with that. So he was like, okay, let's sit down, put all of our debt and liabilities on the table, and come up with a plan to knock this out. So we had a meeting probably on like a Saturday or something like that, where we talked about all of our debt, added it up, and then say, hey, each month this is how much we're going to dedicate to our debt. And we're doing the snowball effect. So the snowball effect is when you take your lowest debt, you pay it off, and then you use the minimum payment, the amount of the minimum payment that you use for the debt that you paid off, you roll that into the next debt, and then so on and so on and so forth. So I like that better than the method where you're paying off highest interest rate debt first, because with the snowball method you see more progress, and it's kind of psychological. It's a psychological thing. So and not saying that the high interest route doesn't work, because I'm sure it does, But just for me, I need to see that progress, that constant progress. So when I see that I paid off one of my smaller bills, I'm like, okay, yes, I can go on to the next one. Hey, I paid that off. Okay, I can go on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So we've been doing the snowball method probably, I would say, consistently for the past year. And it's been working so well. We've been seeing a difference in our a difference in our debt to income ratio, and there's small differences, but over time it's going to make a big difference. We're really going to see how much of an impact it has made, and it is teaching us how to be disciplined with our money, how to use it for good, because we want to get to the point where we just don't have any debt. And thank God I have a partner who is on the same page as me when it comes to that. Because just think if, if I was a spender and he was a saver and we both didn't agree on that, it would make it a little bit more difficult. But this year I really want to keep going on that route and get closer and closer to being debt free. I don't believe I'll be debt free this year. Maybe in the next few years I will be. But I'm willing to be patient and just continue on this road of discipline, and I'm sure that it will work out. The last goal that I have for myself in 2020 is to be more assertive. And if you listen to previous episodes, you'll know what I mean about this. So I always go back to Melissa Fredericks, Kev Onstage's wife, who talked about her assertiveness, or lack thereof at the time, where it was at the point where if she was at the nail shop and the nail tech was hurting her, she wouldn't say anything. Even if she was bleeding, she wouldn't say anything. And that rolled into her marriage too, where she would accept gifts from her husband that she didn't necessarily like, and she wouldn't tell her husband. So it just kind of continued on and on and on, this lack of assertiveness, and people would just kind of walk over her. Now, me, I believe I've gotten a little bit better at this, at really speaking my mind, and not expecting people to be mind readers and know what I'm thinking or even care what I'm thinking. But it's a work in progress for me. Now, this is kind of weird because I'm an attorney, so it's my job to advocate for people, and I believe I do that very well. Advocating for others, yes, I can do that, no problem. But when it comes to myself, it's a whole different story. And that's something that I've been consciously practicing and working on, is being the advocate for myself. Because really, I can't be at my fullest potential of being an advocate for others if first I'm not a proper advocate for myself. And I know that. I need it, and I want to reach my fullest potential. But I can't do that unless I work on myself first. So my goal is just to practice speaking my mind. What I have been doing, and this has been a start for me, like if somebody is, if there's a long line and somebody, tries to cut me, I'll be like, ma'am, sir, the line is back there. Because at first I wouldn't do that. I would just let people cut me because I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal. I don't want to make a fuss. Well, no, I do want to make a fuss. Like, you shouldn't be cutting me in line. The line is back there, boo. So that's what I've been doing, just making small steps in being more assertive and advocating for myself. Because in actuality, that's part of self-care too. I guess it's more of an emotional component or maybe a mental component. But that's something that I'm actively trying to work on, and hopefully by the end of 2020 I'll have more of a report for you guys as far as my progress. So those are the 5 goals that I have. What are your goals for 2020? Let me know. Send me an email at mindofmillennials@gmail.com, or you can share a comment on our Facebook page, The Millennial Mind. We are available on Anchor, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And as usual, I like to do a quote because I love quotes. And hopefully this quote will help you with your goals. So it goes as follows. Goals. There's no telling what you can do when you get inspired by them. There's no telling what you can do when you believe in them. And there's no telling what will happen when you act upon them. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, you guys. Thank you for listening again, and until next time, I will see you soon.